Catch me, catch me, catch me, catch me.
But have you really read the terms and conditions of Windows 10? And what are you agreeing to? Well, wait till you find out. She's here to tell us about that. Dr. Katherine, welcome.
I am very concerned because millions of Americans have trusted Microsoft for years to run their operating system. And now that they've got Windows 10 out and available, people continue to trust them. And I think the trust needs to come to an immediate end. They came out with this Windows 10, and everybody's been waiting since the fiasco of Windows 8 for this new wonderful operating system. And Windows 10 came out, and the first thing that Microsoft did differently from the past is they made it free. And I've been cautioning your listeners and my radio listeners for 10 years now that if something is free, beware of Greeks bearing gifts, or in this case, geeks bearing gifts. If somebody is offering you technological services that are free, there is almost always a catch, and in fact, a really big catch. So let me talk about what happens when you download the free upgrade of Windows 10. There's a second thing going on with Windows 10, which is that you have to click through a whole ton of windows, configuration windows, to set it up. And so they've made it easy by creating a sort of one-click auto-install option that says, you know, if you find this all too much to bother with, go ahead and just click our one-click, and we'll go ahead and just set it for you. Well, that's the worst thing you could possibly ever do with Windows 10, because if you take their defaults and you just say, you set it up for me, what you agree to is going to actually probably curl your hair here. You are agreeing to let them turn on your microphone anytime your computer is on and running. Your microphone is on and transmitting sound to Microsoft.
Really?
All right, that's the first thing.
Wow.
Now, this is something that, you know, governments for all of history have had to, or at least as long as we've had bugs, have had to break into your home or apartment or office in order to install a bug to do this. Windows has made it easy so that millions of people are automatically bugged by simply using their computer. And if you're wondering why do they do that, they do it because they have a new so-called digital assistant called Cortana. And what Cortana does is it listens for you to issue it a verbal command so it can respond to you, kind of like Siri on the iPhone. So if you say, okay, Cortana, put an appointment at the dentist on my calendar for tomorrow at 3, then your computer, the little digital assistant, will pop up and will open up your calendar and do what you say. And so they say, oh, that's really wonderful. You know, it's going to be so helpful and efficient that we have this digital assistant that's always at the ready to take your commands. But at the same way that if you have this digital assistant listening for a command, then you've got Microsoft listening for you to say, okay, Cortana. And, you know, that's a pretty unusual phrase. They actually picked it because you're not going to accidentally say something that sounds like it. But what that means is when you say to your husband, when I say to my husband, you say to your wife, hey, honey, blah, 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 then they're picking that up too. Or when you say let's say you're in a confidential business meeting taking notes and you're discussing your next big product, all of that conversation is also being transmitted through your microphone to Microsoft. So what it means is that in the guise of providing you with a helpful assistant, they're really bugging millions of offices, homes, and workplaces. So this is horrifying. That's just the beginning. Let me tell you what else Windows 10 does. Have you heard of a keystroke logger? It's actually a piece of equipment that the FBI and law enforcement would break into people's homes and install on their keyboards, and then they would leave, and then the keystroke logger would transmit all the keys that they type. It's horrifying. It's the worst form of malware. So they used to have to break in and do like a black box kind of thing with the gloves on and put it on there, and then they came out with the software. Well, guess what? Windows 10 makes it automatic for every user. So let me tell you what else they do. Not only do they have a keystroke logger, and we'll talk about the implications of that in a minute, but they make a backup copy of every file you create. So if you write a confidential, a legal document or maybe a letter to your psychiatrist about your drug addiction, whatever it might be, they're capturing everything you type, everything you write, every document you create, every purchase you make, every PDF you download, any file that is stored on the hard drive, they make a backup copy for themselves. And they have said in that 12,000-word user agreement that they will turn that information over to the authorities if they believe there's a reason for it. And they don't even say if they receive a search warrant or if they're legally compelled. They said basically if there's any kind of reason they think it needs to be handed over. So I could see the government simply saying, I want to know everybody who's ever typed the word, who knows, Ron Paul, or anybody who's ever typed the word Second Amendment, please send us all of the files off their computers, and they would be in a position to do it. In the case of Windows 10, they don't say, this is for marketing purposes so we can get you the things you want. They're even nastier and sneakier than that. They say that the reason we have the microphone on is so that our digital assistant can help you hands-free to get the information into the computer. The reason we have a keystroke logger is so that we can keep track of how you're using the system, how you type, what language you're using, so we can customize things and make them better for you. The reason we make a backup copy of all your files is in the event that you lose your hard drive or somebody steals your computer, then maybe you could reach out to us and we could help you get those files back. So it's all presented as a way to help you, even though in reality, none of this stuff is helpful to us. It is not helpful to us to have Microsoft putting a bug in our homes. It's not helpful for us to have FBI-level keystroke loggers monitoring us. And let me tell you why the keystroke logger is particularly offensive to me. As you know, I helped to create StartMail, which is private email that the government cannot access, that nobody can access. In fact, even we can't read the email that's posted on our service at startmail.com. The way StartMail works, we're based outside of the U.S., so there's no way to compel us to turn over data because we're not subject to the FBI or the NSA or the FISA courts or you name it. We're not subject to that, and we'd say fly a kite. So what the Windows 10 keystroke logger allows them to do is, let's say somebody gets a StartMail account, and it's secure, it's located offshore, and they can't access it. Everything is super encrypted with 3 levels of encryption. But when you log into your account, you must type in your password to open your user disk to unencrypt your vault. And then you have to type in your PGP or your encryption passphrase, which is a long phrase, like Mary had a little lamb, in order to open up the individual email. And no one can see that content because it's transmitted through a super encrypted pipe. It's kind of like a Brinks truck through the internet. But if you have Windows 10, then when you type in your password and you type in your PGP passphrase, you've just given the key to unlock all of your encryption to Microsoft. So that means not only that, but when you log into your bank or your investment account or your online, I just created a Social Security account online, and I was thinking, is this going to be secure? And it has all these heavy security questions. What's your father's birthplace, street? It's like, what? Totally things nobody else could ever guess. And I'm thinking this is going to be secure. But if I were using Windows 10 creating that account, Microsoft would not only know the username and password to log into that secure account, but they would know the street that my grandfather was born on. They would know the name of my second grade teacher because they're logging everything you type.
Wow.
So what it means is that you can no longer even encrypt your secrets or protect your personal accounts from Microsoft and by extension from the federal government. So this is revolutionary. We've seen some pretty egregious privacy invasions. We've seen some people, offering apps that access your GPS location, your contact list, and we've said that's disgusting. But we've never, ever seen anything that affects this many people, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people, and is so giving the middle finger, really, to all Americans and to their privacy and to their dignity and to their intelligence. And the part that horrifies me is the mainstream media is not really reporting on this. You're only hearing about it in the tech press.
Yep.
And I have a lot of friends who are techies, who are like security guys, and what they tell me is, yeah, that's really bad. Well, we've figured out what to do and how to fix it. We've just changed all the settings, and we can go into the source code, and we can delete this and that, and so we're not worried about it. And so what's happening is it's really creating 2 classes of people, Pete. The class of people who is technologically so sophisticated that they can simply override and repair these things so they're not affected. And then the rest of the other 99% of everybody else who are taken to the cleaners and whose every move is monitored. I think we should have protests with signs outside of Microsoft demanding that they take this back and issue a new release that does not have these features, does not have this malware embedded in your very operating system.
So, without further ado, let's start, shall we? That sounds like a tip-top idea. So, first, I would highly recommend, before we actually jump into the settings, that if you're not already doing so, use a local account for Windows 10, not a cloud-based / you're associating an email address account. There are a myriad of different reasons for that, but basically it disables some of the privacy concerns. So personally speaking, unless you've got a really good reason to do so, I would recommend just using a local account. It will bitch, it will whine at you, saying that you're not going to get the best experience, basically, but you know what, I don't care. And so I went with a local account. This is still a preview build, I'm a technical insider, but it doesn't really matter. Pretty much the steps are the same. It's not like you're going to get different bells or whistles. So next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be loading up privacy settings. So to get to this, you can simply press start, type in privacy, and it will pop right up. I'm just going to go from here. You can see that I've already disabled everything. That's just so you don't have the painstaking pleasure of watching me tick each of these, or uncheck each of these rather. Once again, go through each one in turn, literally just go through every single one of them. There are so many, it's absolutely ridiculous. And frankly, I can't believe all of these are enabled by default. Like one of the creepy ones, just for example, is send Microsoft info of how I write to help us improve typing and writing. Really? Let apps use my advertising ID. By the way, Microsoft gives you a unique advertising ID per your device. Therefore, they know that, you know, Bob likes, I don't know, searching for chicken recipes, and Tom likes searching for, you know, video game recipes. Really stupid example, but you get my idea. Anyway, so that's taken care of, but there is a lot more to go. It gets a lot creepier. So we're going to load up Project Spartan, he says as he types every bloody word wrong. There we go, so Project Spartan. We'll create a new tab, just because. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to click on this, and we're going to click on More Actions, Settings. So, after we click on Settings, once again, Advanced, so Advanced Settings. And all of this stuff's fine, like use Flash Player, fine, privacy, all of that stuff, fine, block pop-ups, fine. That's not creepy, like, you know, you don't really feel creepy until you read this. These services share your browsing history in keystrokes. I'm just going to repeat that one more time because you might have thought I stuttered. These services share your browsing history and keystrokes with Microsoft to improve products and services. I feel super comfortable. I feel comfortable with this personally, he says sarcastically, so I'm just going to disable all of this. The reason I'm doing this and not just saying, well, I'm just not going to use Cortana, is because you never know, some application may use it by default. You might think to yourself, oh, I've forgotten about it, or you might, you know, just have forgotten about it. Therefore, disable the bloody thing is what I would recommend personally. Now, we still have yet more to go, and I know that sounds insane, but we really do. The next one that we have to start sorting out is GP Edit. So how we do that is press Windows plus R, we type in GP edit.msc. That will load you up with this. So it looks kind of scary, I know, but it's actually not too bad. You can adjust these sizes just in case you're not too familiar with them. So what this is basically doing is setting certain configurations for your entire system. What I would recommend, first things first, is we need to go to computer configuration. So we're going to go to that. Administrative templates. Sorry, wrong one actually. Computer configuration. There we go. Administrative templates. And then we need to head to Windows Components if memory serves, and there's one here which reads, whoops, just went into the wrong one, OneDrive. So double click on OneDrive, right click, edit, and make sure this is enabled. Prevent the usage of OneDrive for file storage. So I'm going to do that one more time because I kind of screwed it up for you all. So once again, at the very top, computer configuration, expand that. Administrative templates, expand that. Windows Components, and then expand that, and then go to OneDrive, right click, edit, and then enable that. Sorted. So that will basically prevent Microsoft from using the OneDrive for file storage. I personally don't feel comfortable with it, so bye-bye to that, pretty much. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, surely, for the love of God, you must be done by now. No. This is why I didn't want to make a fairly lengthy intro video, as some of you may know I'm fairly famous for, or infamous for. We still actually have more to go. Okay, so now we have to remove allow telemetry. Well, first things first, a local computer policy, if I can get the words out, computer configuration, administrative templates, all settings, and there's one which is seen as allow telemetry. And then you just want to disable that. Now, depending on the version of Microsoft's Windows you're running, off, which is enterprise only, will or will not work. So basically, if you're not running enterprise, you're going to have some problems. So the best option, in which case, is to actually load up regedit. And then what we can go ahead and do is disable allow telemetry there. So to do that, load up regedit as you normally would. So, run regedit. And then go to HKey local machine, software, HKey local machine, software, Microsoft, and then you scroll all the way down, Windows, current version, and then you scroll all the way down to policies, and then data collection. Under data collection, there is allow telemetry, and then you right click, modify, and then choose a value of 0, and that should remove all of the traces of basically Microsoft getting your shiny data. It's absolutely ridiculous, really. You have to go through so many hoops, but unfortunately, there it is. Go back to your Windows desktop, press the start button and type in command, or COMM, and then right click run as administrator. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to do that? Yep, I do. So I'm just going to go back to root by typing cd ... cd ... I know there's a quicker way, but whatever. Now, we need to type in this stuff, and this basically disables yet more of the tracking stuff. I'm just going to copy and paste it. If you need the exact text, it is in the article, and I'll try to remember to put it in the video description. So just click on that. I've already done this crap anyway, so there's no, basically what you do is go through it all, Control-C, click on the window, paste, or you can type it out. It's totally up to you, and then just press enter, and you just go through all of them. It's going to tell me that it does not exist or install service because I've done all of this previously. So once again, I've already done all this, so it's not going to come up with anything for me. And then you'll just go for the last one, and then you do the same dealio, and then it'll come up. So that's it. That's it for the command prompt. Now you might think, is that everything? Well, not quite. Cortana as well monitors your voice input, as well as your name, your nickname, recent calendar events, people in your appointments, and God knows what else. So there is more to go, and I know that sounds incredible, but there is yet more stuff to do. So the next one we have to go through is disabling Cortana. Now Cortana is telling me it's not available in my region, which is actually kind of fine for me, but all you'd have to do is type in Cortana, there we go, and it says, hello, I'm not available in your region. Oh, that's good to know. You click on the cog icon, and then you just disable it, just to make sure. Manage everything that Cortana knows about me, and obviously because I've disabled all of this stuff anyway, I'm not going to get it. So to clear your personal info disable, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just leave that all as is. My personal opinion, of course. You can also get rid of the search box if you want at the bottom left hand corner. What you do, you go to the the taskbar at the bottom right, at the bottom of the screen, right click, choose properties. This will pop up, taskbar and start menu. You head over to toolbars, and then you disable this number. You can see show searcher box, so search icon, or you can just disable. I've opted to disable personally. It gives you more space at the bottom of the screen, which I personally feel is a much better option, at least in my personal opinion. That disables most of the privacy problems. And I know it sounds absolutely crazy crazy that there are so many different privacy concerns on this bloody thing, and yet there are. It, to me, is absolutely ludicrous that there is so much actual privacy data here that you can get rid of.